Now, let's talk about the Student Success Initiative.
Never thought we'd get to it.
You never thought we'd get to it. When I look at, you probably don't have this data in front of you, but based on LBB's presentation to us, members on page 23, the history of funding of the Student Success Initiative is laid out there, and it's gone from a high, if you will, of say 316 million down to now recommended for this biennium of about 36 million, which is about 10%, roughly 10% of where it was in terms of a high. In addition, when we put this Student Success Initiative in, I think it was 2003, we tied it to accountability and social promotion. And the Commissioner of Education was to make a certification that there was sufficient funding in order to make certain that students had the resources in order to go through remediation, everything. But there's never been any type of, I asked last session and I kept getting a runaround, so I don't want to get the runaround this session, in terms of what the Commissioner uses in order to make that determination as opposed to just the amount of money that's being appropriated. And so from that vantage point, I would like to try to figure out in the next couple of weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, exactly what should the Commissioner be taking into consideration. Given the fact that we have gone from, say, a high of 316 million in 06-07 to recommended 36 million in 14-15. And whether recommending 36 million is appropriate, you wouldn't solve everything by throwing money at it, but needless to say, having it at 10% of what its high has been gives me pause to concern as to whether or not there's sufficient resources in light of some of the cuts that we've made in public education in the past. And so, I just want to get your opinion as to whether or not there's sufficient funding. And this is a compounded, contorted question, okay? It's not on your priority list. And so, could you kind of give me some feedback on that?
Senator, I have, you had a couple conversations about this methodology and about SSI. So, and I look forward to the conversation that we'll have over the next couple of weeks. So let me share with you what
I'd like to have a draft of what the Commissioner should be considering.
I can get you a draft tomorrow.
When we have that conversation.
I can get you a draft tomorrow. I had it with me when we were unable to have our meeting.
Okay.
When you go back, let's look at a couple things as we're trying to compare dollars. When you look at the 2008-2009 biennium and the 309 million, I went back and pulled out the rider for that biennium. And if you look at the rider for that biennium, of that $309 million, 157 million of it went to 9-12. So it wasn't even going for 3 through 8. And so really there's only about 146 million of that was going for the youngsters in 3 through 8, the youngsters that we were concerned about with social promotion when this was passed in 03. So really the number, the comparative number, I think really ought to be 146 million to 41. Now, what's Michael think about as it relates to the 41? As it relates to the 41 million or the 36 million, the agency is trying its best to do more with less, be extremely innovative, and to be effective and efficient. And that's why they bought those 2 statewide licenses. And those 2 statewide licenses, one iStation, and then you had an opportunity to visit with them, the other Think Through Math, that can provide, in terms of methodology, this is the way I'm thinking about how do you make this determination. Can a youngster get 24/7, 365 instruction? Can we get a diagnosis in real time as to whether that youngster is getting these concepts? Can we provide a customized learning package for that youngster? And can you provide sort of online assistance to the teacher who's in the classroom? All of those things we can do with iStation and Think Through Math. So that's sort of the thinking right now in terms of methodology.
What about students that don't have access to online tools?
The interesting thing is that schools are you've allowed schools to be able to use their instructional material allotment for the purchase of technology, and we're seeing 2 things. We're seeing schools, let's say Grand Prairie, that are using those dollars to buy cheap tablets and actually handing that tablet to youngsters as they go home for the weekend or on that particular day. There was an article in Dallas Morning News just recently sort of highlighting that they're doing that. But there's no doubt, and I'm not going to say that every kid in the state has access to that technology, nor I'm going to say that bandwidth has been built out all across the state in the same ways it may be in DFW or Houston, Galveston. But I am saying that this is a way that we can get learning to kids and we can get learning to kids, and we'll just have to continue looking at additional ways we can get it to them. This is where we can get learning to kids.
As it relates to those kids that don't have access to the internet, and there are kids in rural and some in urban America that don't have access, right?
They may not. There are kids who don't have it at home.
That's
These
right.
kids do have it at school, though.
Well, right, but we're saying 24/7. That was the purpose.
Okay.
And so I'd like to visit with you. We don't have to take a lot of time here, but we need to have this conversation. I think Texas needs to have this conversation. And there's transparency in terms of what should be considered. And I'm hoping that once you come up with a matrix, that we can have some input from others that want to see exactly what that matrix, what that methodology should be. So I appreciate you.
I'll drop it by tomorrow.